Season 2, Episode 7 with Grant Cardone on Undercover Billionaire, and I must say this episode was twice as long as I anticipated. However, let's dive into it to figure out exactly what happened and in detail how it went down. Let's dive into it.
Welcome to the smack that's the beat down. The SWAT team is here on another beautiful day of shutting the week down.
And hey guys, for meeting for the very first time, my name is William Dauria. I'm a millionaire real estate investor. For passive income, I invest in single family, multifamily, and commercial units. I buy, I fix, I rent them out and live off the passive income, and I want to show you how to do the same. Today, we're following Grant Cardone, and we're going to start on day 35. And starts off with he needs to land 2 goals. He needs to, 1, land clients for that new promo business that he's getting going. And on the second one is he needs to get a hold of the apartment complex broker to figure out, dude, what's going on with my deal? I made an offer. I haven't heard anything. I need to hear something back. Like, at least counter me, do something, but I need at least something going. Like, call me back. Let me know. He's been calling. He's been texting. He's been emailing. He's not getting anywhere with this broker. And what a broker is they're in between the seller of the contract of the apartment complex and, well, Grant Cardone or Lewis Curtis, whoever you want to call him, and they're in between, right? But the broker's basically the ears in between, just to make it a little less personal. However, since he has the offer in on the property, if they accept the offer, immediately he has to put down $200,000. It's basically like earnest money. Like, here's my $200,000 to prove that I'm serious. The problem is he doesn't have $200,000. So he's sourcing some investors online, and he comes across a local guy in that town. It's an ex-NFL player, and he actually calls him about the promo business, but it's like, dude, if this guy is local and he's willing to listen to me, not only maybe could I get him a client in the promo business, but then he can be an investor in my syndication as well, and maybe we can all make a little bit of money, right? So he's kind of thinking both sides, because this guy's complex, by the way, is a $10 million facility local, so he knows that that client has possibly got some money to invest. He just needs to learn his client's motivation to A, getting interested in the promo company, and then B, be interested in all in the real estate investment in the first place, because that's kind of a crapshoot, you know? I mean, yeah, he has a business and he probably wants promotion, probably, but, you know, with the syndication, you know, just because you're successful doesn't mean you know anything about real estate. Just because you know a lot about real estate doesn't necessarily mean you're successful. So you kind of have to, you know, put the square box in the square hole, you know what I mean, to make this all work. Therefore, you need to source a lot more than one investors. We'll get to that in a minute. And then he goes on to say 2 things, Grant Cardone does. He said, life is a game. Out of 100 contacts, you might get 10 contracts. And my favorite one is contacts will turn into contracts. That basically means, like, if you're a cold caller, the more people you're calling, the more contracts you're going to be signing, and ultimately the more money you're going to be making. Do what others won't do, and then that is how you come around and make money. Like, nobody likes to do cold calling, so cold call the heck out of your industry if your industry works that way, and you can really make something work. For instance, in real estate, when we cold call people, I hate doing it. They hate getting my calls. It's one of those, you know, things I can outsource as well, but it's a very vitally important. Think about if you had a house for sale, for instance, and you got letter after letter after letter after letter after letter. However, somebody called you, they're really nice to you on their phone, you were thinking about selling, you may possibly talk to them, or at least you'd be more amped to sell to them versus all those letters you got in the mail that you don't know Adam from Adam. So, okay, moving on, but that's a quick example and some life strategies for you want to be entrepreneurs out there. And he gets a hold of, like I was saying, the NFL player on the phone, and he was like, yeah, man, let's talk in person. You know, when do you want to talk? And the guy was like, you know, I mean, like, now, let's just talk now. And then Grant's like, yeah. I mean, like, honestly, that's the way I want to do it. Like, when can we make the meeting? I'll go right now. I mean, there's no reason to put stuff off, because you put it off to the next day, then guess what? It might not get it done at all. Just get it done. So he literally goes right there and meets the ex-NFL player. He's touring the facility. Awesome facility, by the way. Like, really, really, like, over the top nice. And sits down with the guy and starts talking. And Antron Smith, that's the ex-NFL player that he's sitting in front of, actually knows Matt, the owner of the gym and the mattress store. So, which is really cool, because Grant also said, knowing names builds credibility. And it also builds a little bit of rapport as well, because, like, we automatically have a mutual friend. Like, I don't know you, you don't know me, but hey, we know so-and-so. Now we can automatically start talking like we know each other because we basically have a mutual friend. So basically, he kind of gets definitely in the back door by knowing somebody that he knows already. And here's the thing, Antoine Smith is a really smart guy. And he's like, I can see it in his head. He doesn't quite say it, but I can see it in his head. He likes Grant, okay, or Lewis Curtis. He likes him. He does want to do promo. I can tell this by looking at him, being an entrepreneur. He does want to do promo. He's interested, but he's scared because Grant is really, really smart when he's talking with him, and he can see that, and he's like, why haven't I heard from you before? Why haven't I heard of you? Where have you been? Like, I can tell you know what you're doing, but like, you have zero track record, like nobody, because like, he was asking questions, and Grant's like, yeah, I just got in town, and we're just kind of moving, and it's just like, show me like something, a portfolio of what have you done, right? And he can't show him anything, which is like super spammy if you think about it. I mean, like, here today, gone tomorrow kind of person, but he likes him, but he's super reserved because he can't figure him out, right? And he's trying to figure him out, and he did ask some questions, and Lewis Curtis / Grant Cardone had to, kind of like tell him the Lewis Curtis version, and it was kind of awkward because, he's kind of thinking and making it up as he's going. Oh, yeah, I was born in, and he did tell him the truth, Louisiana, and I'm from, well, let's just say Los Angeles, because that's where he's from, or that's where he's at right now, and that's easier to tell the truth because then you don't have to try to remember lies. But unfortunately, he doesn't get the deal right there sitting in front of him because Antoine, he's a smart business owner as well, just can't put his finger on it. Likes him, wants to do the promo, I can tell he does. He just is like, there's just something about you. Like, if Grant could sit down and be like, yo, I'm Grant Cardone, this is what we can do, this is my package, let me help you out, let me show you how, he would do it in a heartbeat. But being that he doesn't have any background at all, it's super scary to bust out your wallet and write a check to somebody that has no history. Oh, funny story, by the way. While they were touring the facility, him and Grant are actually doing pull-ups, right? Antoine knocks out like 5 or 6, and he could keep going, but he just kind of stopped, and then Lewis Curtis / Grant Cardone jumped up there and actually busted out 9 with his feet in front of him, right? Like, I know he's in his 60s, and to bust out 9 pull-ups, guys, is pretty good. I imagine the average 60-plus-year-old cannot bust out 9 pull-ups, especially with your legs out in front of you, which is harder, by the way. And Grant says this, and it does resonate with me. You have to make meetings memorable. Okay, so whatever you do when you're there, you're probably one of 30 different people he talks to. So if you're a marketing guy, for instance, right? Like, how are you gonna stand out? Like, how are you gonna do it? And if we did pull-ups together, you're probably gonna remember. He even does something called riding the bull, and like, he literally rides a bull. Like, there's something that looks like a bull, like it's not called a bull, I'm sure, because it's like in like this medical facility thing that he has on the side, but it was to like measure people's weight and something like, anyways, I'm not sure exactly what it looks like. A bull, it drops and comes up and it bucks like a bull, and Grant's like, yeah, I'll ride it, what does this thing do? And he hops on it, and Antoine's like, are you sure, dude? And Grant's like, yeah, what the heck, plug it in, he's trying to make things memorable and fun at the same time. If you can make it fun and memorable, they're more likely to do business with you, right? So Antoine plugs this thing in, right? And this bull is like, ba-blam, 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 and Grant is doing everything he can to hold on to, not just hold on and so fall off and don't break something, literally, but not to bust his teeth out, because this thing is like bam, 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 and it was super funny to watch. I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, if you break your hip, like, this 90 days are pretty much done. You're gonna be rolling around in a wheelchair trying to get all this happening, right? But he gets it turned off, and he gets off that thing. He's like, dude, I think I just blew out my back, right? Saying it in a half joking manner, but I'm pretty sure it probably did hurt the next day, right? But it is pretty funny part of the actual episode. So he didn't actually close the deal with Antoine Smith right there, because like I was saying, Antoine's like, I like you, there's something about you, I need to learn more about you. So Grant's like, listen, okay, dude, let me put some stuff together, and I'm gonna circle back around to you, and I'm gonna kind of, basically trying to ease you in, saying, not, here's the hard sell, I need you to sign this big check right here, go ahead, do it right now. Like, you're gonna be like, whoa. Now if I say, this is how I'm going to help you make more money. Check this out, right? And you can show them this way, right? And then I'm gonna do this for you, and I'm gonna show you this for you. This is gonna be your increased bottom line, all because I've done this, this, and this. And you see what I'm saying? Like, you're gonna get the actual, you're gonna basically sell yourself to him to the point where he wants to take out his check and write it to you, because in return, he's gonna be getting an ROI on that check, return on investment on that money in the first place. But you got to show him what you're doing. You kind of got to prove it to begin with. So he's easing in on him nice and slow because he couldn't make the sale there. But Antoine is also still in the mix for a possible future investor in one or both of the businesses that Grant has. Okay, and that was a lot on day 35. Like, that was one day, right? But we actually skip a day. I'm not really sure, but we actually skip a day and go from 35 to day 37. And up to this point, he's been cold calling and cold calling and cold calling. Grant has. And he's been trying to get somebody on this promo business, right? And he was like, and he actually said something I've actually never heard before. And he said, I need to press flesh. And if you think about it, it's like in-person handshake, you know, like pressing flesh, right? Let's check mic 2. Getting excited here, knocking down the mic. So you see what I'm saying? Like, sometimes you need to get out there, you need to talk to people, and you need to just do something a little bit different. If anything, just to reset your mindset to get back into it. And he's still looking for real estate investors because he has an offer on a property that's asking $10 million and he doesn't have any money yet. But this is very cool, guys. Watch to the end. I'm going to show you guys, how you guys can replicate the same thing, guys. This is super cool. I think this episode is really, really cool, and I'm gonna show you something here. Hang on. So Grant's like, yo, dude, I'm gonna go to the barbershop. Like, who else locally knows more people in town than a barber? Barbers talk to everybody. Everybody talks to barbers. You know what I mean? Like, that guy probably knows who are my real estate investors, like who are my buyers, who am I interested in getting into real estate investing, who has some money, who can I talk to, right? He's like, yo, dude, I'm gonna go to the barbershop, I'm gonna get my haircut, I'm gonna talk to this guy, I'm gonna figure out who he knows, and I'm gonna press on them to see if we can make something happen. Notice how I said, didn't hope something can work with it. I'm gonna make it happen. I'm gonna get out there and I'm gonna do it. I'm going to make it happen. So check this out. So he talked to the barber, right? And he was like, yeah, you know what? I think I know one guy, right? He's like, okay, I'll take him. The guy was, doing some flip. It was his cousin, by the way. He was doing some flips on some houses. So he had maybe a little bit of money, right? And he was like, Grant's like, yo, dude, I'll take him. Like 20 grand here, 40 grand, whatever I need. Put that together. I only need 200 grand, like now if I get accepted. Okay, so Grant does something here that I think a lot of people either don't understand or looked right over. And when the haircut, when it was time to pay, it was a $30 haircut, by the way. Looked pretty good on him, by the way. They cleaned up the sides and stuff. And anyway, so which also helps with business deals. You don't look so scruffy. So a $30 haircut, he actually tipped him and actually paid him a total of like $51 and something cents, right? Total with tip and tax. So what a lot of people were like, dude, why is he just throwing money around? Like, because now that he's actually gone out of his way to tip him extra, this guy now, the barber, will not only remember him, but also may come back around to him with somebody else because he likes you now. Anybody that gives you a lot of money or extra money that you didn't ask for, you like them, don't you? All of a sudden you like them. And it comes back around to him almost tenfold. Literally, we'll get to that in a second. So Grant's total net worth at this point is $4,906.44 after the $51 haircut. Day 39, still, he cannot get the broker to call him back. That's the guy, like in charge of getting the contract to the seller for the apartment complex. He can't get an answer. Like, tell me yes, tell me no, counter me, say something. We're just like flying and times are, days are just bing, 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 bing. We're just wasting time here is basically what he's like. Dude, just tell me something. If it's a no, I'll move on to another property. But I've got to get a yes or a no or a something or a counter. And anyway, so he's still not getting anything. Like I said, he's called, he's texted, emailed, he's trying to make something happen. Guys, if you haven't invested in real estate, what I noticed when my very first year when I got into real estate investing, real estate is slow. Everything is much, much slower pace. And the business that I was a motorcycle dealer for almost 10 years. And when I came from that business, it was so fast paced. When I got into this business, I'm like, yo, dude, I talked to you like an hour ago. You have an answer? I need to know something, bam, bam, bam. And I learned like to pull the reins back a lot. Now I'm like, man, I think this is making me lazy. Like, it's an easy business. It's just a slower paced business, you know, and I guess in a good way. I mean, I don't have to say, you know, super fast paced, but that's getting off in a tangent. Let's get back to it. He says something that I really, really like, guys. He's sitting in a chair, like kind of like afterwards, and he's talking about what has just happened, you know, in the episode. And he says this: commit first and figure it out later. I love that term, guys. I do it myself. I made a offer on an apartment complex the other day. I don't have all the money myself, but I committed. I made the offer. If accepted, I have a 10-day option period, which gives me the option to take the deal or not after 10 days. And I was going to use those 10 days to come up with the funds to buy this apartment complex, right? And I would have got to figure it out. And matter of fact, I did in 3 phone calls. I had 3 investors on standby just in case it got accepted. So I love that commit and figure it out later, because if you can bring the right deal to the table, an investor will invest in it. If you can show them it's a good deal and they're going to get good returns, guys. Believe me, guys. If you find the right deal, the money will follow. Okay, get back to it. Okay, so day 41. What do you think he does? He calls the apartment broker. What do you think happens? No answer. But by this point, he has actually made 2 contacts in person, in the flesh, for what he likes to call it, and no appointments yet for the promo business either, right? So unfortunately, by this point, we're not getting a lot of traction. We're spinning tires. We're doing something, but we're not really moving yet. It's kind of like on the ice. It might kind of give it any second, you know, but right now we're kind of spinning with a little bit of momentum, if any. Now, he did get to talk to the broker. The broker actually called him back, and they actually did get to talk, and we're going to go over what he says here in just a minute. But Grant also says, this is one of, like, you know, the sit back and he's talking about the episode. Grant also said this, and the little tangents that he says, you know, I do write down, because a lot of the stuff he says, I actually follow myself. So I am a firm believer on a lot of the stuff he says. Not that I'm following Grant and doing everything he says. I do it on my way, but it's nice to see somebody else with the same mindset. And he said this: don't react emotionally. Stay in for the close. Basically, you know, real estate transactions are non-emotional events. I know they can feel like it, guys. Trust me, if you bought your first house, I was all emotional on my first house too. When I first bought my very first property, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. You know, now, like, when I buy a house, guys, it's like buying a hamburger. Like, if I want a chicken hamburger and they go, I'm sorry, we're out of chicken, you're gonna have to get beef. I'm like, okay, that's the same way when I make an offer on a house. If I make an offer on a house and they go, oh yeah, that one they said no, I'm like, okay, hey, how about this house right here? Like, I literally just go, that's fine. I can deal with this one over here though, right? And I'm always looking at my next deal, even if these deals are still pending an answer at all. I'm already past it, already looking at deals, and if they kick back and say no dice, it's okay, because in real estate, there's typically new stuff every day hitting the market, and it's fresh inventory for me to pick through and decide what's good, what's bad. You will land opportunities and offers accepted if you make enough offers in the first place, guys. You can't land opportunities if you're not making the offers. I said that, not Grant Cardone, by the way. Okay, back to it. Okay, so Grant actually goes into the process to buy the apartment complex, like literally from like start to the end, right? And it's going to go something like this. You have to find the property. You have to make an offer with the price with the LOI. That's letter of intent, okay? That's an intent to buy for this amount. So you got price, you got pay, and you got close, okay? So letter of intent. So I got my price out of the way, and then this is how much I'm gonna pay, and then we're also gonna talk about the closing as well, which is like the final, you know, signing of the deal. You know, we kind of get that out of the way. Here's the offer, Mr. Seller. What do you think about it, kind of thing, right? So that's where we are there. And then from there, the seller's gonna be like, that offer's garbage, or I love that offer. And he's probably going to counter you or possibly deny you, depending on how hot the market is. You might not hear anything at all. So, but in this case, he countered him. But nevertheless, we're gonna go over that counter in a second. So like I said, he has to agree or not agree, or counter is the next step. Okay, so the next thing after the offer is accepted is now your inspection period / due diligence period. And what this means is the inspection period is you're going to go in, most likely hire a professional inspector who's going to look over the building, look at roof, foundation, the general structure, what's needed, the age of the the AC units, water heaters, possibly what's about to come up if something's really old, what's working, what's not working, etc., etc. And he's basically going to come back with all of the deficiencies, and believe me guys, they're going to have a lot of deficiencies. So if you haven't bought a property yet and you get a 4-page thick of deficiencies, don't let that scare you. Look at it all over. Some of that stuff is real easy. Some of the stuff is like, oh, it's nice to know it doesn't need to be done kind of thing, but nevertheless is inspection. And then after inspection, you're going to do what's called due diligence. With due diligence, this is as important as the inspection or more. So the due diligence is basically saying, okay, so I bought this property for X amount of money, right? I need to know now, did I make a good offer, right? And that's why this due diligence period, also known as possibly an option period, could be about 10 days, maybe in this case, maybe 14 days, a little bit longer, bigger property. And you need to figure out exactly what the numbers are. Not like rough estimates, I'm pretty sure this is a good deal. This is the point where you actually go back to the seller and you ask for rent rolls. You actually get, what are you paying? Because in the multifamily, you usually pay utilities, maybe water, sometimes electricity, hopefully not. But you're going to pay probably trash and water is a big one unless they're separately metered. And then from there, if you're all good with all of the inspections and the due diligence and all the numbers actually make sense to you, and you're like, all right, seller, let's make it happen. From there, you're going to go on to closing. And in this case, this gives Grant the opportunity to go through the due diligence and the inspection period. And this is very important, very, very important, to get the money, to put the money up in the first place, so when they go to closing, aka actually buying the property and like filling out the paperwork, when they go to closing, he has the money to close in the first place. He's literally gonna be doing all of this all at the same time, all in his option period, with the due diligence, the inspections, raising the money, all of this all at the same time. Okay, so day 43, there's no clients yet for the promo business. However, he's got a little bit of good news, and I say good news because anytime that the seller calls you back and you're at least talking, I consider that good news, because no news is usually bad news. But he gets a counter offer. Okay, he offered $8.75 million on a $10 million property. They countered with $9.4 million. And Grant says, oh, this is the classic, they want to split it down the middle kind of thing, right? And it kind of sounds like it, possibly. Maybe he's firm on the 9.4. You don't really know since you're not talking to him directly. And that's the downside to these kind of deals, is you're talking to a middleman. So you're kind of assuming that he wants to split it down the middle. Because if you offered 8.750 and he came back at 9.4, what's in the middle, guys? What's in the middle? About 9 million, give or take, about, and maybe like 9.1. So Grant comes back or Lewis Curtis, however you want to look at him, comes back and says, we're going to come back in at 9 million flats. And he calls back and says this, hey, I want to make the offer for $9 million, okay? But do you need me to go ahead and put this in writing, or are we just going to go ahead and do a verbal contract? You can talk to him and say, hey, is that good? And then we can go from there, right? Because sometimes what they'll do if you make the offer is you can just talk to the agent and be like, yeah, I'll give him $9 million. Let me know what he says, right? And the agent's totally cool with that, and he'll just be like, yeah, we're good. Let's go ahead and get the paperwork up. Or sometimes, like in this case, because it's a kind of a big, $9 million, some people consider that a big deal. Some people say 9, yeah, I'll do it. However, put it in writing so I can present it, right? So in this case, he has to put it in writing. So Grant's like, all right, I'll get it wrote up. I'll get it sent to you now. $9 million. Let's make this happen, right? However, at this point, this is super, super, super important, guys. If the seller accepts Grant's $9 million, Grant might have as little as 24 hours to get him the $200,000 deposit that he does not have yet. Or I should say, has not sourced yet. He's still working on it, but he hasn't made this money. So in the meantime, he sent a counter offer, which could be accepted at literally any minute. Like literally, it could be like, ring, ring. Yeah, we just accepted your $9 million counter offer. Get us to $200,000 in 24 hours. Okay, Mr. Seller, will do. That's exactly the situation that he's facing right now. So what he does is he actually gets a hold of the barber, and the barber, believe it or not, has 9 investors willing to listen to his pitch. Plus, he got the NFL player, the ex-NFL player, in there as well. So he's going to the barbershop where there are 10 potential investors there to raise just for $200,000 for now. Just the $200,000 that he needs to source the deposit money that he will need any day now. Okay, so day 44, right? This is the day he goes to the barbershop to pitch his investment for the apartment complex to 10 potential investors, right? And he walks in there, and remember, guys, he's Louis Curtis. He can't be like, yo, guys, it's Grant Cardone. Look at everything I've done. He's like, yo, guys, basically, he didn't say this, but in his head, he's like, I'm Louis Curtis. I got nothing to show for it. He's thinking that in his head, but he's like, how, I need to make these guys, really, really feel me and want to invest their money because they know that I can deliver, but I can't show them any history. That's really the problem. And these investors asked some really tough questions. And one particular one, I kind of bit my knuckle on because they asked him this. They asked him and said, hey, Louis, how much money are you putting in? Pretty good question. Think about it. If you're an investor, you probably ask the same question I would. How much are you putting in, right? And he had to say 0. He didn't say 0. He goes, well, I'm bringing the deal to the table, but he's really saying 0, right? So it's really tough when somebody comes to you and they want tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you're not bringing anything to the table. Now, it's possible, guys. It's possible, and it probably gets done every day, guys, especially in real estate, right? It's just harder to do, okay? But it is possible. So if you're out there and you've got some drive, you've got some hustle, and you want to learn real estate and then pitch your great deal to somebody who has money, it can still be done, guys. So don't let anybody tell you that it can't be. Okay, so Grant is standing there in front of 10 people, kind of sitting around like a U shape, right? And he's got this little stand, this whiteboard, right? You know how Grant does with the whiteboard. He's going just as fast as you see him on YouTube. He's just bam, 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 bam. And in my head, I'm thinking, slow down, Grant. Like, slow down a little bit, man. These are all new investors, like all of them. Even Antoine, he's never invested in real estate, at least from the way he was talking, And Grant's just going, all right, your ROI is gonna be da-da-da-da-da. And I'm just like, oh, man, slow down just a little bit. You're gonna confuse these guys, right? And if you this is the thing. If you confuse investors, they'll never invest. I've learned that. If you confuse them, you have to keep it simple, 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 simple. Keep it simple, stupid. Have you heard that? You got it. You got to keep it simple. You got to keep it. I probably would actually had everything written out already, like really clearly, like ultra clear, and then gone over the stuff that I wrote out to make sure that everybody understands. Okay, this is only a 3-step or 5-step process. This is what needs to happen first, and then you see what I'm saying? Like, make it a little more simple. But he's going, right? He's doing his pitch and stuff, and then he's pitching to him. He's like, go big or go bigger, right? But he goes like this, go big or, and he points to everybody, and everybody's like, go home. He goes, no, go bigger, right? And then he goes, oh, doo-doo. I just said something that Grant always says on stage, and that could ultimately give him away, potentially or possibly, right? He's basically saying I can make $200,000 profit on the money that I'm sourcing just from investors alone, amortized over a 30-year period as well, per year. $200,000 per year every 30 years, right, is what he's telling the investors. And all this is based off of $2 million. Now you might be saying, well, where did $2 million come from? And that's the first time I heard $2 million as well. However, remember I said to stick to the end. I want to show you guys something. So this is where I think he's coming up with the rest of the funds. However, real quick before we get to that, he said, who is with me, right? Into the, I was going to say the crowd, into the 10 people, basically like, who's going to invest with me? Who's with me, right? Nobody raised their hand. It's a little awkward, totally awkward, right? Nobody raised their hand. And I'm thinking, just hang on, buddy, hang on. Somebody's gonna dive in, I promise. Hang on, somebody's gonna go. Nobody raises their hand. I was like, no. And then some of the investors are like, well, I'd like to get some more information, right? And Grant's like, this is more information. Like in his head, I can see what he's thinking. He's like, this is more information. This is the meeting. We go over more information. This is the meeting we write checks. I don't want another meeting because this phone call is going to give me another 24 hours, maybe to source 200 grand. And I don't have a dollar of it right now. So, or he has, a couple thousand, which is nothing, but he needs $200,000 from investors. He doesn't have anything right now. So he leaves the meeting of 10 people with no investors at all right there. Right. And that's basically the end of the episode. Now, this is where he's coming up with, and this is my opinion because this is what I've known up to this point. He made an offer of $9 million. So talking about only sourcing $2 million. You might be saying, well, how is he going to come up with the rest? A bank's not going to give him a loan because he's Lewis Curtis. He has no job, W-2 job. He has no job. He has no history. How's he going to come up with it in the first place? And this is how I think he's going to actually come up with the money, okay? Say this is the $200,000 and this is the $2 million that they talked about for the first time, which is very interesting, by the way. So this is the $200,000 and I'm going to source this. I don't have it yet. Now I've got it. All of a sudden I source it from some investors, whatever. This $200,000 I'm going to put right here is going to buy me about 14 days or so, depending on the option period, to come up with the $2 million, or I should say the additional $1.8 million, because what this big money is, you got little money to buy you time and the big money at closing. However, you might be saying there's no way a bank is going to work with you. You don't have a W-2. You don't have any work history. Your name isn't even your real name. There's no way a bank's going to finance you, and you're absolutely correct. However, there's something called, and it's not necessarily hard money, because hard money lending is usually short-term financing. However, there are companies out there called private money lenders, okay? And they can actually be sourced a lot of times through a hard money lender. Matter of fact, one of the hard money lenders that I talked to actually sells the private money that he gives me back to the marketplace, right? And he is actually going to base the loan solely off the asset itself. So he basically is going to say, all right, Mr. Lewis Curtis, let me make sure that this property is actually worth $9 million because you made the offer of $9 million. They're going to say, okay, possibly, it's worth $9 million or above, $9 million. All right, so we would like 20% down. Okay, so 20% down, you put your 20%. So this is what happens. If you, the borrower, do not pay anything past your 20%, they own the property because they have their name on that property as the owner until it's paid in full. So if you default, they automatically own that property with 20% equity. It's really a no-loss scenario for them. So that's called private money. And get this, guys, you got a minimum credit score rating of, in a lot of cases, only 680. You're gonna have maybe 20% down, give or take, depending on the private money lender. And APRs could range anywhere from, I just got off the phone with somebody like 3 days ago, and their private money was starting at 4.25% at the beginning of 2021. So if you hear this in like 2024 and we're like 15% interest, don't freak out. And it goes up to like 6%, 7% on a 30-year note. Guys, they're actually doing private money lending on a 30-year note. Super cool. If you don't know about it and you're interested in getting into real estate investing, guys, look into private money if the banks are not willing to work with you for, DTI purposes or whatever, guys. Hey, guys, if you like this content, consider smashing that like button. I do take a lot of time to make this content, guys. I make lots of notes all for you guys to make sure I don't miss anything. And if you're not already a subscriber and you guys want to hear me make several videos on real estate investing for passive income per week, I make them every single week, and I would love to have you a part of our channel. And thank you guys for making it to the end. And until next time, I will see you on the next one.